Hey everyone, welcome back to Mongrels Garage. Today we're working on a 2014 Ram where you're out frolicking with your friends, you're in the snow, you're in the mud, and all of a sudden you get the message. And what does that message mean? It means you don't have four-wheel drive. So you're kind of up that creek without a paddle, and if you aren't, well, you soon will be, at least temporarily. So today we're going to get into what causes it, how we fix it, and steps to prevent it in the future. Let's get started. All right, so let's talk about the Ram trucks. We're looking at about 2013 to 2018, I think, is they had two types of transfer cases in them. This particular one is the Borg-Warner 4444. The other one is the Borg-Warner 4445. Now the 4444 is an automatic transfer case. It's almost more like a limited slip differential than a transfer case. Explain that in a minute. And then there's the 4445, a little more robust. And the way you can tell the difference between these two is you'll have your automatic selector on your dash for this one, and for the 4445 it's got the high two-wheel drive. It doesn't really have the auto mode. So you can see here we've got the 4x4 auto switch, which means we've got the Borg-Warner 4444 transfer case. And you can also see that because we got the radio dial, we've got the 8-speed transmission. Okay, here we are in another 2014 Ram, and you can see down here we got two-wheel, 4-lock, 4-low. This likely means that we have the Borg-Warner 4445 transfer case, but that's how you can tell which transfer case you have, is by looking at your 4x4 selector. So that's how you can tell which one you have. Now, what leads to this problem is we're going to focus on the 4444. Is this has a viscous clutch or a wet clutch, whatever you want to call it, and it's controlled by the computer, and that's where we get into an issue. Because on the Fords don't really have the problem with this clutch wearing out. There's a reason for that. The programming is a little bit different than on the Rams. And what happens on the Rams is this clutch, when in auto mode, is commanded to engage and disengage depending on whether it sees slip on the wheels or not. And believe it or not, this can even be affected by wear on your tires. So let's say your back tires are worn more than your front tires, then you could be jumping in and out of four-wheel drive, and eventually you'll overheat your clutch pack, and because you're wearing it out. This will happen a few times until eventually you just wear out the clutches and you're replacing the transfer case. So it's very sensitive on the Rams, and it's very easy to, now not all of them do it, but some it just seems to be the case. And that's the situation we ran into. First thing we're going to do, as always, disconnect the battery. We're going to have to get into some electrical connectors, so we don't want those connected. On the Rams, battery's right here, so we'll just take the negative cable off, should be good to go. So we're going to get the truck up in the air. We're using a lift today, borrowing a friend's shop, so that we can show you this whole process a lot easier. So let's get it up in the air a little bit. Okay, we got the tires off the ground. We're going to stop there. And the reason why is we're going to do what's called the bounce test. Because, there we go. If it's going to fall off, we want it to fall off here, not up there. Now we know we're good, so we can continue taking it up. So let's go ahead and take it up. Now, like I was saying earlier, is you have a couple options with this, and unfortunately we're left with the one of replacing this. You can either replace it or overhaul it. We're going to replace it. We can always overhaul the other one, have a hot swap spare if we need it. So we're going to get started by removing, number one, the rear drive shaft. We're going to take these 4 bolts out over here, and then we're going to drop it down, slide it back. We're also going to remove our front drive shaft. Up here, again, same thing, 4 bolts. We're going to take that out, pop down, pop it out. And then we can get to work on the transfer case itself. In order to get the bolts for the transfer case where it bolts to the transmission adapter, is we're gonna have to take the mount off, probably take the cross member off, so we're gonna work on that. And of course get all our electrical connectors off, and then we'll just pop this down. Shouldn't take too long, a couple hours, but let's get started and start taking that stuff apart. And there we go, we've got the fluid draining. You can see it coming out. I haven't pulled the plug all the way out, we're just gonna let it trickle out of there. And now we're gonna tackle this electrical connector. What you need to do is you see this gray part right here, a little screwdriver in there. You'll be able to pry that back. See if we can hold the camera and do this at the same time. Yeah, there we go, we got it back a little bit. And you're gonna wanna slide that back. Just like that. And then it's got a tab that you push right here. And then you should be able to take the connector out. You might have to take the gray piece all the way out, but I'm gonna need both hands for this. So, there we go. Gray guy's out. Push the tab. There we go. Connector's off. Move it all the way around. So, happy? The front drive shaft, you're gonna have to hold it with a pry bar and then get the breaker bar on there to loosen those up. You might be able to get an impact on those, make your life a little bit easier. And that's why we use the impact on these, because you'd be wrenching and your arm's gonna get... As you can see, we got the front drive shaft off, the front differential, but now we have to get it off the T-case, and you got these pinch clamps here. So we're gonna have to take that off, otherwise this boot will hold it onto the splines. I'll just show you the splines here of our replacement case. There we go. So you can see we gotta slide it off all those splines. And if you pull on the shaft, you can see it moves, but then the boot stops it. So we're gonna get that boot off and it should pop off real nice. Okay, let's talk about these pinch clamps and the best way to get them off. I have found just put a screwdriver in here, give it a twist, and it opens up and you're good. That way you're not trying to cut next to the boot and accidentally cut the boot. It's the best way I found to get these off. So that's your tech tip for the day. So now what we've done is we've got our transmission jack in here since we're on the lift. So you've got it there, block of wood to spread out the load on the pan. And we've just taken the load of the transmission a little bit. We've unbolted the 4 bolts going from the transmission mount. You can see them, there's 2 of the back ones there, one there, one there. Front ones are a little tricky, you can get them at them with a universal and stuff. And now we're gonna unbolt this cross member, get this all out of our way so we can get at the housing bolts. We've taken the bolts, the 4 bolts out of the cross member. Remember we already took the 4 out of the transmission mount. We've left the 3 in the bottom where the transmission mount attaches to the cross member. We're gonna show you the easiest way to get the cross member out. And you can sit here taking small swings at it, trying to beat it out. I find that's a little bit of a waste of time. Instead you grab yourself a pry bar, get up in here, give it a, boom, out she comes. Just like that. Done. Easy peasy. These are all this is why you had to take the mount off. We're gonna split it where the transfer case meets the adapter. So there's 6 nuts all together, starting at the bottom, go around and take those 6 out, and this thing should be ready to come off. Make sure you've taken your wiring harness here and disconnected it from where you need to. Okay, so we have all the nuts out. This thing, you can feel, you should be able to feel it rock a bit, yeah. We're just gonna pull it straight back and down. It's a good idea to have your buddy with you. However, if you're really strong, you can probably do it yourself. There we go. Yeah, let's go put it on the bench over here. Well, there you can see the output shaft to the transmission. And you can see a little bit of grease splattered from when the splines were engaged. Just keep it all nice and lubed. Put the new case on. So it's only taken us, well, maybe about an hour, Mike?
Yeah, it's not too bad.
So it doesn't take long to get to this point if you know what you're doing.
And the lift helped.
And the lift helped a lot, yeah. Transmission, jack, lift. And then you gotta remember we were also filming. So honestly, if we really hit this hard, we could probably get it to maybe half an hour. But we took our time filming and everything else. So it doesn't take long to get it here if you get the right tools.
Here they come.
Okay, so the first thing is we want to engage the splines, and there we go. Then we worry about lining up the bolts, the studs. Get that started. Make sure you got one handy. Here's a pro tip for you. Okay, should be good. All right, that'll sit on there. We get all the nuts on there. Make sure you put some Loctite on those, blue Loctite, and we'll snug them up. Now, to complicate matters is when we were doing all this, we took a look at the rest of the system, and what we had was this is our passenger side axle, and it wasn't fully engaged. And if you look closely in there, I don't know how well you can see that, you can see the splines are kind of flattened. And that's because the snap ring that's on the intermediate shaft that retains this axle, it wasn't there. So the axle backed out and was flopping around like that, which likely led to this giving a slip signal to the computer, which would be engaging, disengaging these clutches, which eventually wore out the transfer case. Now the transfer case was easy. We managed to replace that in about an hour and a half. Very easy to do when you got the proper equipment. Totally simple. This, on the other hand, well, that took a little more time, and that's often the case. Now, the other thing we found out is it's very difficult to get the left-hand intermediate shaft. Chrysler pretty much only sells that as the axle assembly, so it's going to be quite costly. I did see a couple options out there, but they had no stock, so I don't know if it's a whole shaft assembly or whether it's just someone in the aftermarket is making one, which kind of sucks, but that is what it is. Okay. Brake. Off the brake. Okay, we don't have any leaks, looking good. Re-brake. Try all-wheel drive. Everything's turning. Brake. Okay, off brake. Give it a little bit of gas. We got no leaks. Everything's looking good. Everything's turning. Time for a test drive.
Auto.
No, good?
No,
good traction?
Yeah, good traction.
Everything grabs?
Proper.
No vibrations?
Nope. I'll put her into 4 now.
Did you see all these? He's got a whole light LED setup, the light setup.
Yeah, I've seen some of it. Oh, look at that. Nice. That's crazy, eh? Look at that light setup. Good? Okay, well, we'll take it out on the highway for a little spin. We'll do a loop, come back, and then if everything's good, we'll call it a day. Between four-wheel drive auto is when the computer will kind of control everything. It'll determine how much power. If you put it in four-wheel drive lock, it'll be a 50-50, but it can still slip the clutches. So the best thing you can do to help prevent this problem, use two-wheel drive. Don't use the four-wheel drive auto, and then only use the four-wheel drive when you need it, and that will help you kind of save your transfer case from the clutches engaging and disengaging, get you a little more life out of it. That's my recommendation.